Good morning, students. Today's class is about lesson number 5, the alien planet, the green movement's role. First of all, what do we understand by the word alien? Alien means the sick. And here we are talking about the sick planet. And what is the role of green movement? The movement that never let us see back then. So, the following article, this particular chapter is an article written by Nani Palkhiwala and published in the Indian Express on 24th November 1994. The issues that he raised regarding the declining health of the earth continue to have relevance. Who doesn't understand today that we need to be very, very relevant? We need to develop that sensitivity towards our ecosystem. We need to preserve, promote, and we need to protect our environment. So the point is, our planet is alien. We are the dwellers of an alien planet, and we need to preserve it. We need to protect it. And so we begin with the lesson. One cannot recall any movement in the world history which has gripped the imagination of the entire human race so completely and so rapidly as the green movement. It started nearly 25 years ago. In 1972, the world's first nationwide Green Party was founded in New Zealand. And since then, the movement has not looked back. The first Green Party, which was founded in New Zealand in 1972. You can make out 5 decades back or 5.5 decades back, or you can say half a century back, some 50 to 60 years back, this Green Society, Green Movement Society was formed. And we have shifted, one hopes, irrevocably from mechanistic view to a holistic and an ecological view. The most important point is our shift from mechanistic view to holistic view. What is this holistic? Considering Earth as a whole, one unanimous feeling that we are one, the Earth and the human beings, with all its components. So from thoughtlessness to thoughtfulness, the journey from very thoughtless, very much thoughtlessness to extreme thoughtfulness is also the need of the hour. Now, we have shifted, one hopes, irrevocably from the mechanistic view to a holistic and an ecological view of the world. It is a shift in human perceptions, human understanding. We have shifted in our understanding, in our perception, whatever we imbibe now, as revolutionary as that introduced by Copernicus, who taught mankind in the 16th century that the Earth and other planets revolve around the Sun for the first time in human history. There is a growing worldwide consciousness that the Earth itself is a living organism. So we need to understand that Earth as a living organism. Earth, a living organism. And we also proceed with this feeling that let all the components of the earth, the parts of the earth live, and sustainable development must take place. So the next part of the lesson discusses, or we move in this course in such a way that it has its own metabolic needs and vital processes which need to be respected and preserved. So when Earth is a living organism, it has its own processes and we need to protect them, we need to preserve them, we need to respect them. So we need to respect our Mother Earth. The key point, the value point, the key line behind this discussion is that love Earth, regard Earth, respect Earth as a living being. The Earth's vital signs reveal as a patient. The Earth is revealing signs that it is a patient in declining health. Now, who will take care of this declining Earth? The youth. we people, you and me, together will protect the environment. We have begun to realize our ethical obligations to be good stewards of the planet, leaders, stewards of the planet, the leaders who will protect the earth of the planet, and responsible trustees of the legacy. The legacy that we will leave for our posterity will be carried far, and that will be the legacy for future generations to follow. Our posterity, our future generations will follow this legacy. What legacy? Of preserving, of protecting, of regarding, of respecting the earth as a human being, as a living being. So the concept of sustainable development is expressed, is explained, or is brought forward by the author, and it was popularized in 1987 by the World Commission on Environment and Development. In its report, it defined the idea as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations. We need something in present, but we cannot put the future at stake. We cannot use what belongs to our children. We cannot use those resources to check, but we have done this. We have been continuously, perpetually doing this. So, that is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs, without stripping the natural world of resources. But we have stripped them. We have stripped them from our generations, and we have utilized them, and we have overused them. So natural world of resources, which actually belong to the future generations, belong to our posterity, we are using it, and we have been continuously deteriorating it. So, in the author further expresses this or supports this idea, this notion, with the anecdote of Lusaka, Zambia Zoo. In the zoo at Lusaka, Zambia, there is a cage. There is a cage in Lusaka, Zambia Zoo where you stand and you see yourself because there is a mirror on the wall. And when you look, penetrate, peep into that cage, you find yourself there. So the most dangerous animal on earth, it's written there, highlighted in Lusaka, Zambia Zoo, in one of the cage. The author says that in Lusaka, Zambia Zoo, when you look into that particular cage, you see yourself in the mirror where it is written, the most dangerous animal on the earth. And inside the cage, there is no animal but a mirror where you see yourself thanks to the efforts of a number of agencies in different countries. A new awareness has now dawned upon the most dangerous animal in the world. He has realized the wisdom of shifting from a system based on domination to one based on partnership. So we need to move from domination to partnership. Domination to partnership. What partnership? A partnership with the earth. Partnership with the earth. Earth as a living being. So after the concept of or the notion of sustainable development, the author talks of the anecdote. He discusses an anecdote. Anecdote means an episode, which is here as a supporting episode or what his experience which he's sharing. And then after that, he talks about these statistics. What scientists have done, scientists have cataloged about 1.4 million species with which mankind shares the earth. Estimates vary widely as regards the still uncatalogued living species. Biologists reckon that about 3 to 100 million other living species still languish unnamed in ignominious darkness. We are living in ignominious darkness. What darkness? That is bringing ignominious, that is bringing disgrace. Ignominious darkness. That is bringing disgrace to us. Not only to us, but also ignominious darkness. That is, bringing disgrace to the whole mankind. And this disgrace that is being caused is also, we are not able to understand that we are bringing that disgrace. Yes, because the point is our ways are quite dark. We are depleting, we are finishing, we are killing, we are poaching, we are hunting, we are intervening in the habitats of wildlife, We are overusing the resources. We are so careless, and now the journey must shift. Or now the thought process must change from thoughtlessness to thoughtfulness. We need to move in terms of environment, in terms of preserving environment, from carelessness to thoughtfulness, from heartlessness to heartfelt love for Mother Earth. Yes, one of the early international commissions which dealt inter alia with the question of ecology and environment was the Brand Commission, which had a distinguished Indian as one of its members, Mr. L.K. Jha. The first Brand report raised the question, are we to leave our successors a scorched planet of advancing deserts, impoverished landscapes, and ailing environment? And there's a question mark in this paragraph. That are we going to leave such a planet which is scorched, which is ailing, which is sick, which is depleting to our generations as a gift? And what type of gift it is going to be? What we receive from our ancestors is not what we are going to give to our posterity. So we are somewhere in the middle, and the responsibility is great on our shoulders, and it's tremendous on our shoulders. So Mr. Lester R. Brown, in his thoughtful book, The Global Economic Prospect, points out that the Earth's principal biological systems are four: fisheries, forests, grasslands, and croplands, and they form the foundation of global economic system. So our economy is based on these four major systems, that is fisheries, forests, grasslands, and croplands. And backbone of our economy is at stake. The author wants to lay emphasis on the point that we are not worried about the fisheries, we are not worried about the croplands, we are not worried about the crops, we are not worried about the resources. And when we are not, what we have as a consequence? Deserts, barren lands, wastelands. We will hand over our generations a huge earth which will comprise of wastelands and nothing. So in addition to supplying our food, these four systems provide virtually all the raw material for industry except minerals and petroleum derived synthetics. In large areas of the world, human claims on these systems are reaching an unsustainable level, a point where their productivity is being impaired. When this happens, fisheries collapse, forests disappear, grasslands are converted into barren wastelands, and croplands deteriorate. In a protein conscious and protein hungry world, overfishing is very common. The way the author has expressed that a protein hungry world needs more, and more. And in this material more and more, we have killed, we have broken, we have shattered, we have crumbled, we have crushed not only the resources, but entirely solely Mother Earth. Yes, and so in a protein conscious, protein hungry world, overfishing is very common. In poor countries, local forests are being decimated, destroyed. Forests have been deteriorated, destroyed, and finished off. Who doesn't know? As you and me, we all know that we have depleted the forest cover in the entire world, not only just one part of the world. So firewood has become so expensive that what is inside the pot is less expensive. What is beneath the pot, whatever is the fuel to cook food is more expensive than what is being cooked inside that vessel. It has been well said that forests precede mankind and deserts follow. So the author here wants to say that if forests will not be there, then definitely deserts are going to take place, or deserts are going to occur, or they'll cover the earth, and the world's ancient patrimony of tropical forest is now eroding at the rate of 40 to 50 million acres a year. And this article was written in 1994. And if we calculate today, we'll find that we have gone far in disrupting our environment. And the World Bank estimates that a 5-fold increase in the rate of forest planting is needed to cope with the expected fuel wood demand in the year 2000. So 1994, it was written, an estimated demand in 2000 has been discussed. Now we are in 2020, and an estimated demand in 2030, what it is going to be. Are we enough capable in coping with the needs of the growing population and the way we have been doing depletion and overusing of the resources. James Peck, the president of the World Resources Institute, said the other day, we are saying that we are losing the forest at an acre a second, but it is much closer to an acre and a half to a second. Article 48A of the Constitution of India provides that the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment. So Article 48 also has been shared by the author, that it says that we need to endeavor, our endeavors must be such that we need to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. But what causes endless anguish is the fact that laws are never respected nor enforced. We make laws but never enforced wholeheartedly. The government enforces them, but the human race, or we all citizens, we take time to enforce them from within. Outside we enforce, we follow, but from within it comes, it takes time. By the time it comes from within to follow the rules and regulations, it takes time. For instance, the Constitution says that casteism, untouchability, and bonded labor shall be abolished. Shall be abolished. But they flourish shamelessly even after 40 years of operation of the Constitution. A recent report of our Parliament Estimates Committee has highlighted the near catastrophic depletion of India's forest over the last 4 decades. India, according to reliable data, is losing its forest at the rate of 3.7 million acres a year. Large areas officially designated as forest land are already virtually treeless. The actual loss of forest is estimated to be about 8 times the rate indicated by government statistics. So this is all the introduction as well as the supporting points that the author has laid before the readers, that how we are depleting our environment and how we need to understand two things, that is sustainable development and Mother Earth, or the earth whom we call as Mother Earth as a living being. And its resources need to be used wisely. All natural resources that we have must be used wisely. So we have to be in partnership and not the domination, or our view must, our views must, our opinion actually must be, it should be must that we must move from thoughtlessness to thoughtfulness. I hope you have understood. We'll continue this lesson in the next class. Thank you, dear all.